Good afternoon, Citrix Converge attendees. My name is Charlie Brinson. I'm one of the senior product managers over on the Citrix Workspace team. And today I'm going to be walking you through a new feature within Citrix Files for Windows that's called Known Folder Redirection. So you may already know about Known Folder Redirection in terms of the Citrix virtual apps and desktops or Citrix profile management. But this is a new feature that we're incorporating that's going to leverage a group policy object, leveraging a local group policy editor, and being able to have Citrix files for Windows apply those policies and then redirect those known folders or specific known folders over into your share file account. So that way they could be accessed on a mobile device as soon as you launch your Citrix files for Windows application in a virtual environment or a local environment. It could go ahead and be able to pull in those same files from the desktop and give you the experience across the board of being able to get access to really your known folders on your desktop wherever you are. So I'm going to try to avoid death by PowerPoint. I've always hated it. I'm guessing some of y'all probably do too, and try to keep it really as a demo. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with opening up the group policy definitions within the Citrix eDocs. And this is going to be covering, where to be able to get the policy definitions. They come packaged with every version of Citrix files for Windows, and you can find them within program files /Citrix /Citrix files /policy definitions. And then once you go in there and find those, and might as well just go ahead and show you while I'm at it. Let's see, that was a little test on the folder redirection, but basically you come here, they'll be available in the ADMX and then the ADML files. And then what you'll want to do is go to the C drive. You want to go to Windows, and then there's going to be a policy definitions location. So on this one, you would just go ahead and drag the ADMX file into the top level of policy definitions. And then there's an in-US ADML file that you would drop in that in-US folder over in policy definitions. So once you've applied that and updated it, you may need admin permissions to drop it into the location there. But that's why we're at Converge. Most of us are probably admins or have the ability to become them. So we've got those in there. What you'll have is access to various things. So if you haven't messed around in the local group policy editor of Citrix files for Windows and all the different things, it allows you to be able to enable applications for certain users, but not for others, enabling connectors, enabling an auto update functionality to make sure it's always on the latest version. You can change the cache location of it, disable tutorials, prefetch metadata, and probably one of my favorites is creating different mount points. So if you want to be able to create an S drive for certain files, but then an R drive for something else, you can be able to have up to 10 mount points with Citrix files for Windows pointing to different locations. But that's for another story. We're going to be talking about folder redirection, which is actually not on this list today because it isn't live. We have plans for it to go live within the next, I believe, week to week and a half. So by the time that Citrix Converge is going on, this should be up and ready and live and good for you to test. So within Citrix, or to actually download them if you don't want to go to the location I showed you earlier, you can be able to pull them from the citrix.com/downloads/sharefile, and then just to not have to say the rest of that domain, you would then just click on clients and plugins and then Citrix files for Windows, and you're going to be able to find it right here. So that's really all that you would have to do. I've already dropped in the ADMX and ADML templates. So what we'll do is go ahead and open up local group policy editor, and I'll make it a little bit smaller here. Let's see. All right. And what you want to do is you'll have two different locations. You'll have the administrative templates and then the user configuration. In the administrative templates, that's going to be really on that HKLM, that local machine side of the registry. And then your user configuration, which is going to contain the folder redirection work that we have today, and then some other pieces that would be tied to the users, including the mount points, or uh, go ahead and choosing some offline sync folders, which could actually be good in this folder redirection if you want to choose to automatically have all of their redirected folders synced down. You can specify those. And one thing that I always like to do is come in and actually specify the account that you want the users to use. I would probably recommend doing this every single time that you're installing Citrix files for Windows in a deployment because it's going to go and lock down the user to just choosing that account. Without it, it would allow them to be able to log into anything. And this also allows them to point to, if you're using an identity provider, directly to that account by itself. Today, I'm not using identity provider, so I'm actually just going to not. I'm just going to include that, but it won't make any difference really, other than requiring me to do it. So what we'll be doing is setting up the redirect folder location, and as you can see, I've actually got Citrix files already up and running. I've went ahead and created a folder redirection location for a couple different folders. So I've got files that I've already had existing in there, a couple different pieces. So I'm going to come in and try to move some things around. Here we go. Um, so this is going to be the desktop. So I will double click on the desktop. I'm going to enable it. And then depending on what you need to be able to do with folder redirection, it's your decision on whether you want to move existing content to the new location or just hide it in the original location of where the desktop is. I prefer moving the existing content so that way anything that I had saved before it loaded is now moved over into my folder and combined with everything else. So I'll go ahead and apply that. We'll go to the documents folder, and I'm going to keep it a little simple here because I think I just called them documents, and we're going to apply that. The next setting was downloads, and you can pick and choose. You don't have to do what I am doing today. Um, the only one that we're not supporting is going to be app data. I think it's app data roaming is one of the known folders that Microsoft supports. We're not doing that because we actually store a lot of Citrix files for Windows content, logs, various things in the app data location, and it will just create some headache, so we're going to avoid it. All right, so we've got those two, and then I think the last one I was doing was, here we go. I think I just chose pictures because I always try to force pictures of my dad's dogs into these presentations because he loves to jump in here and watch it. So we've got pictures here, and we'll configure this, apply, done, boom. So as you can see, nothing's changed. All you would need to do is exit out of the Citrix Files for Windows app, and then you want to start it back up. And so in just a second, you should start seeing, since I am redirecting my desktop, the desktop icon should start shifting as it loads up. It's going to be starting to pull in some of those files from my share file account. So as you can see, I'll log in over here. I've got my folder redirection up on the account. When I go to the desktop, it's pulling in these legal week, these weekly reports, a receipt that I had from a really long time ago that I just kind of dropped in here to make it look like this is a real desktop. PowerPoints, my Spotify podcast micro app, which if you haven't checked it out, please go check it out. It's a pretty cool build that I put together. A lab guide and some other things. But the whole idea is now on my share file account, I can access the same files that are on my desktop. So if I go in and download something, let's say, well, we're just going to go to, see, I didn't actually think through the whole download. Like, what am I going to download? Actually, we'll just create a new Word document. That's going to be a lot easier. So we'll come in here, or a new open document text. Call this Charlie test. And then in just a second, you'll see this file gets uploaded. I'll get a successful upload from this location to this ODT. And then when I click refresh over here, we'll be able to see the new Charlie test.odt has been uploaded. So I can make changes. I can be able to pull things in. Makes things very easy to do. I can quickly be able to say like, hey, make this available offline if I want to. Or as I was mentioning earlier, you can actually use the configuration uh, to be able to force somewhere. It was one of these. Sorry. But you can basically say, hey, I want to force certain accounts or certain files to be in there. Looks like it's not on this, but it is on the local group policy editor. So if you just go to gpedit.msc, that'll pull that up. And then under the administrative templates in Citrix Files, this is where that force offline sync folders are. So if you choose to force this file offline, you could say, I want to enforce a sync folder offline. You would come in here and say, okay, let's go ahead and make my desktop always sync. So very easy. You just drop this ID in there and it starts with the FO and then has this. We'll apply it. And now on probably the next refresh, it would go ahead and start forcing this sync to go through. And we'll give it a little try real quick. See Citrix Files, we'll load that up. But the beauty is just being able to access this from about anywhere you want. You've got your desktop files. The other things I also did, as you can see, these are starting to download all for offline access with that change we did. So anywhere that I go, I'll be able to have access to these files. Um, and if this was in a non-virtual desktop, maybe I just want to have the virtual pointer files and not worry about the offline. But in a local desktop experience, it may be something that I'm jumping on a train and it's not going to have Wi-Fi. So this gives me a really good way to pull all my files down, pull in all my weekly reports as it's getting them in there, and then everything will stay synced up. So the other thing I've also done in this was leveraging different locations. So like documents, that's one location that I went ahead and said, this I'm gonna have files that are gonna be stored there. Pictures is the other one, and so this is where I've got pictures of my dad's dogs that I stored in here, so I could be able to have those synced up. But if anything that I save, any work that's being done, or even downloads, anything that's downloaded, I can be able to pull those in. So if I'm grabbing those group policy templates, or if I'm grabbing the MSI for Citrix Files for Windows, they're going to go ahead and automatically save. It's defaulted to the downloads folder as soon as it finishes downloading. I think it's defaulted to the downloads folder. It is, but apparently to the wrong user on this. So once I would drop them in the correct place where it actually go to download the files, these will then be pushed up to the share file sync for Windows, or sorry, the Citrix files for Windows. And at that point, it's going to be available on my share file account, and I can also be able to gain the access to it that way. So I've got the web access, I've got the desktop access, I'm able to do what I need.